Good morning, English 10, and welcome to Mr. Heins Explains Grammar. Today we're going to talk about nouns and pronouns. This quarter we're really going to start hitting home on grammar, and nouns and pronouns are a big part of that. So if you go to this week's folder, you'll see that one of the folders says Grammar Notes and Activities right here. You're going to click it, and then Skeleton Notes, Nouns and Pronouns. Go ahead and export that or import it into Notability. Create a new note. You all know how to do this. Then let's talk about grammar in general. Starting with grammar bootcamp, that first one is, nouns. So, nouns, let's start with the different types of nouns. And when we're talking about the different types of nouns, we are going to talk, we have about, 7 different types of nouns that we want to talk about. The first type of noun we want to talk about is the common noun. So, common nouns are known as the general, person, place, thing, or idea. Some examples of this are a book, or a desk, or a chair, or a person, or something like that. You can probably think of your own type there, but the difference between that is that it's lowercase. A proper noun is a name, a specific name. You can write specific in that first line. I'm only just going to write name and capitalize it because, as I pointed out, it is a specific name. So, specific name of a person, place, thing, or idea, like Mr. Heins. Come on, give me that S. There we go. That's a proper noun, okay? Your next one is a noun that you can observe with the senses. We call this a concrete noun. Not concrete as in the pouring concrete, but concrete as in something very like hands-on. All right? So it's a noun that you can observe with the senses, and if you don't remember what the senses are, that's smell, touch, taste, hearing, or sight. I like to use the example of a cookie. I can taste a cookie. I can also feel like fur, for example, on my dog. Okay, it's a noun you can observe with the senses. Then, of course, the opposite of a concrete noun is what we call an abstract noun. And these are nouns that you can't touch, taste, smell, see, or hear. They're representing ideas or quality or a state of being. So one really good example of this is fear, or maybe happiness, or anger. These are all examples of abstract nouns, okay? Then, after abstract noun, we have 3 left. Number 1, this first of the 3 left is what we call a collective noun, and the biggest thing to remember about that is a name of a group. So, a class could be a collective noun. It's a group of people or things. A class, or if not a class, then maybe, let's say, like a herd, if you're talking about animals, or a collection. Those are a collective noun. After that, we have what we call a compound noun, which is a single noun formed from multiple words. And this could be a really good example of this is backpack. We took the word back, we combined it with the word pack, and there we go. We have a compound noun. And then the last one here is a possessive noun. It shows ownership. So a possessive noun shows ownership or a relationship. So one example is the word hiker. If I have one hiker, it's going to be hiker apostrophe S. Another one is the word, if I have a plural word like dogs, it's S apostrophe. And then the last one is kind of funky. If you have a word that ends in in an S, you kind of get to choose. So let's use the word class. You could theoretically write class apostrophe S and have 3 S's in a row, or my brain doesn't work like that. Maybe your brain works like me, and you just do class apostrophe. That's how I would do it. Ultimately, that one's up to you. So those are the different types of nouns. Now let's talk about pronouns. Okay? Pronouns. I apologize for my terrible writing, but just bear with me on this one, okay? So, pronouns and some of you might be familiar with this, are words that can stand in for nouns or other pronouns. Okay? Basically, they're words that take the place of nouns or pronouns. And we have 2 main types, and then we have a bunch of other ones that we'll see on the 3rd slide. So we have personal pronouns. These are the ones that are like, I prefer to be called he, him. They describe an individual. They describe a person. And we have first person pronouns. These are like I, me, he, we, or us. There are second person pronouns, which we don't really look that much in the English language, but it's really just you. Or we have our third person personal pronouns like he, him, she, her, they, it, they, them. And then we have our possessive pronouns. Just like up above when we talked about possessive nouns, possessive pronouns show ownership. And again, we have first person. Those are the my and mine. We have second person, your and yours. Your and yours right there. And then we have third person, he, her, his, her, hers, its, their, theirs. Those are the possessive pronouns. Now again, here's our last slide on pronouns. And with this here, we start talking about smaller types of pronouns, but they're still incredibly important. And the first 2 are a little bit confusing. They are called reflexive and intensive pronouns. And they look very, very similar, but the difference is how they are used. So reflexive pronouns reflect back to the subject. That's the main part of the sentence. And intensive pronouns emphasize a noun or pronouns. So if you look at those examples, the first one says, I went there myself, and the second one uses, I myself went there. They use the same word. It's really the position of the word itself. So intensive, it will always be right next to the word it emphasizes. Whereas reflexive, it'll be later on in the sentence. That's the main difference between the 2. Okay? Then after reflexive and intensive pronouns, you have what we call demonstrative pronouns. And these, quite simply, come on. These quite simply point out specific things. That thing there, this thing here, those things there. They're pointing at it. So when you look at demonstrative pronouns, you know that they're pointing to something. Okay? Then after demonstrative pronouns, we have what we call indefinite pronouns. And what indefinite pronouns, they refer to an unspecified, oops, I apologize for that. An unspecified number. So some of the people, none of the people, many of the people, a few of the people. They're not giving us a specific number like 3 people or 12 people or 1 person. They're saying an unspecified number. And yes, none is technically an unspecified number here because you're saying none of how many? We don't know. The next one we have is an interrogative pronoun, and it sounds exactly like it is. It interrogates, which means it introduces a question. So if it doesn't start and introduces a question, it's not an interrogative pronoun. The last one, we'll talk more about its implications later on in this unit, but it's called a relative pronoun, and it introduces a subordinate clause. Come on. And we'll explain more of what those are in a later unit. It was me who stole your pie. That's all we need to know about nouns and pronouns. We'll talk about verbs